I use wax paper, plastic placemat, Glossy Mod Podge, 1-inch paper circles, flattened bottle caps, and a soft acrylic No. 5 paintbrush. In my tutorial today, I'm going to show you how I Mod Podge with the Gloss Mod Podge little 1-inch diameter circles that I've cut out. I do not coat them on the paper front and back before doing the resin. So what I do is I have my Mod Podge. I have already pre-cut the circles here, and then I have flattened bottle caps. These happen to be yellow on the back. I am also using a, if you can see that there, a No. 5 tip acrylic brush. Okay, so I personally like to take a little bit of the Mod Podge. Let's see, so you can see it here. Take just a glob of that. And then all I do is I take just a tiny bit and I kind of just dab it a little, maybe take a little bit more, and I just dab around the inside of my bottle cap, and if you're using a bezel, the inside of the bezel. The other thing I do is I'm going to line this up with the ridges because I might make it into a necklace. So I usually punch a hole in one of the little rivets. So I want to figure out how I want to put this in. So once you lay it in there, you can kind of spin it around however you like. I happen to get it in there right this time. And then I smush it down with my finger. So I just smush that around. Sometimes I use the back of the paintbrush just to make sure it's secure. Once that's in there like that, I immediately do my very first layer of Mod Podge. And I don't worry about grabbing a glop. I use a big glop. And the key thing is to make sure I dab the edges. So I put kind of a thick layer in the edges. The only problem I've noticed with this is sometimes I get air bubbles. So once I get this whole side complete, all the way around, we'll get some more. And I do the little glob of Mod Podge on my wax paper because I like to just reach over and dab and not worry about if I'm going to stick my paintbrush into the jar too much. So now once I've got that done, I just kind of do the whole piece. I can swirl around, and if I have too much, I just dab it a little. But my key is to make sure that I have a good thick base around the border, and then I can thin it out after I get that situated. And I try to do brush strokes, like this one has a little bit of wording, so I'm doing my first set of brush strokes in the same direction, like that. So we'll set that one to the side, and I'll show you what it looks like right now. And that's what it looks like with the Mod Podge. So it's like that on all of the edges, nice and full. And we'll set that to the side, and I'll do more. Once that dries, we'll come back, and probably by the time I finish all of them, it will be ready. This is what I'm just doing a thin coat. Okay, and we will fast forward. And the first layer of Mod Podge has been fully dried, and as you can tell, there are no spots where you can see like the globs of Mod Podge. It all dried very clear, and like I said, that was the first layer. You can see how it swirls a little, and you can see the brush marks. You can do it so that you don't see the brush marks. I happen to like it. I think it gives the feel of a painting. And what I'll do with my second layer is try to paint the Mod Podge on so that it goes in an alternate direction of the brush strokes that I have there. So that's coming up. So we're ready for our second layer of Mod Podge, and I'll show you this one close up now that it's completely dried. There's no globs where you can see the white. It is shiny. You can see brush strokes, but I chose to have it that way. If you do a little bit more, then you won't see the brush strokes. So what I'm going to do is again go through all the corners, make sure they're nicely coated, and then I'll show you how that looks before I move on to doing the inside of the circle. Sorry, I keep moving out of the screen right there. And I try to take out the little bubbles. Sometimes I get little bubbles in my Mod Podge, so I just kind of take them out and swoop them. Okay, so here's how I coat the corners. And you can see that it's quite thick white. And now I'm just going to go over the brush strokes. Get a little more for the center. And just clean up the edges there. Just like that. And I go over my pieces about 3 to 4 times when they're like this. I have done it at 2 times, and I haven't had the wet paper look, but I think it's because I use so much Mod Podge in the corners that I really don't leave any room for resin to get in. So as you can see, I have a little bit of Mod Podge on the corner. I just wipe that off. And then this piece now is done with the second layer.